15 minutes per item unless otherwise extended by the board. So with that, are there any comments at this time concerning items that are on the agenda? None. Are there any public comments concerning items that are not on the agenda today? None as well. Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, I'm new to this, so I represent the Visalia Swim Club. I just wanted to, okay.
Please state your name and thank you.
All right, thanks. My name is Jonathan Hogue. I'm the president of the Visalia Swim Club. We are currently we had been at swimming at COS for 7 years. There's a lot of things I want to say, don't know what to say. I'm not good at this public speaking stuff. I'm just a working class guy, I work at UPS. I have 3 kids on the team. We are currently swimming out of Wood Lake because Visalia Unified, there's so much, I don't want to use the word because I'm not trying to like, political stuff going on. So, like we swim, we were at COS, and then I know they told me not to. Okay, so the whole Kyler thing, Kyler's not with our club, and I know that you guys said that, so he's starting up his own thing in Exeter. We were handed like about $14,000 in debt. We came back, we had about $25,000 in the club, long story short. A lot of parents came together and we went through hell, and we make no money off this. We represent the community more than any other club. There's only one other club that is year-round, and that's TNT. We're nonprofit. We have 5-year-old kids all the way up to 7-year-old people. Well, our club is swinging out of Wood Lake, so we're losing people like crazy. We do have a letter from, we were gonna come last month, or 2 months ago, and I came on I think it was one time you guys had it on a Tuesday instead of a Monday. No. I had to get off work. No? Well, anyways, it was the wrong day that we all got off, and it was our error. But that is from one of the parents. The daughter has special needs. So it's kind of lengthy, so I'll let you, if you can review that. So all I'm coming for is we need pool time. And we keep getting the runaround of, well, there's nothing available in the evening. We've gone through the list on your guys' schedule, there's stuff in the evening. We've been by the pool, there's stuff in the evening. There's nobody there. Then it comes down to, well, we don't have, the pool is new, but the pumps are old. Okay, well, what's the difference? The pumps are old then. And they're mainly just, we're a small club. We're not even near, we worked well with CBC when we had to trade in and out with CBC. Cynthia and us, we worked really well together. They're way bigger than us, and they jump in with Nair on their arms and legs. The swimmers have to shave or do whatever. But we just have mainly little kids. And we're here to represent the community, and now we're being shut down. We're down to 5 people. 3 of them are my kids. And that's kind of unfortunate because we're being shut down. We have the same, we changed our colors to COS. We represent the community, and we're the cheapest too. We make it very affordable for families. We started sponsored one kid that we found in rec over the summer league, but they couldn't make it out to Wood Lake. So they want that potential swimmer as well. So basically all I'm coming here, I don't know what happens from this. I'm just coming to the board because we're against all ends.
Is Chad Benji's daughter on your team?
No.
I don't know what you're asking for.
Full time. We used to swim at COS for the last 7 years, and then all of a sudden after reconstruction, and then at the same time, like I said, I didn't want to bring up the demon thing, the Kyler Marciano thing, which he is no longer. He hadn't been. He's starting his own club. And then the other lady that was the president before that left the team almost in shambles with a big debt. Our families took over. She said things, bringing us into. She brought us into it without even asking, using our name.
You want full-time what?
Full time, just full time, from 5:30 to 7:30. Full time.
Yeah.
And the price negotiation, extra fundraisers, whatever, limit cap on how many kids can be in the pool, whatever. We're willing to do whatever because without this, we're dead. And there's just too many TNT. Phil Black, he's within the Visalia. So there's too much political stuff like, well, we went and got our permits. you can't use the pool on the weekends. Well, how come TNT gets to swim on Sunday? They have a key to the pool. We actually got all our permits one time. We're at Mount Whitney, and walks Rico Blanca. Key, just start swimming when we paid for their permits, and we don't even know if they're paying.
Okay, well, I think
I-
we, and I don't mean to cut you off.
No, go
so if
ahead,
you
'cause
have
I don't know.
any other comments
Right.
that are pertinent, I'll certainly let you make them.
Right.
But I think we're not gonna take action as a board because it's not an agenda item, so the board is not going to get into a deep discussion or take any sort of action today, but I'm gonna ask our present superintendent to make any comments that it feels are appropriate to the issue that you brought up, and I certainly thank you for bringing the issue up to us. It's obviously something we're not aware of, so.
Right.
That being said,
Well, let me clarify a couple of
Okay.
things. First of all, and this isn't to contradict you at all, Mr. President, but the board is aware because we sent you a series of updates earlier in the fall. Board members that were inquiring, we sent that information out to all of you. We appreciate what you guys are going through. I want to clarify a couple of things. First of all, Kyler Marcelino and the past history doesn't mean anything to us.
Right, and nor to us.
Then don't bring that up anymore.
Right,
'cause
right.
That's not a factor.
Okay,
So
okay.
here's what I want to share with you again.
Okay,
The pool did go through reconstruction. All of it was surface level reconstruction. But it was the point of demarcation where we decided as an institution, because it's the first time we had been able to invest anything in the pool, in dozens of years, that we were going to reevaluate its usage. So it was unfair for the community groups who were using it before to expect that we were just going to roll over and continue to do all the usage again that we were doing before. Because before we began that reconstruction, it had already been determined by us locally here at College of the Sequoias that with this $1 million+ investment, it was time to restructure and reprioritize the care for the pool. So you can sneak around all you want and find out who's gotten in the evening or who's gotten in on a Saturday or a Sunday and bring that to our attention. And I think what Brent Davis, our athletic director, will do, as he has done, is as soon as you notify us that someone's in here unauthorized, we go in and we make sure that they're removed. But we've established the schedule for the priority use that we have based on our board policy, which says we'll provide for all of our sports and needs as a college first, and then we'll try to support local high schools and cities second, and then private clubs and individual clubs third. And that's what we've tried to preserve. So I understand that there's politics in Visalia Unified, and that's unfortunate as well. But you're gonna find times when the pool is shut, locked, and not in use at times when it used to be used. And that's actually by design now, because we're trying to get the maximum life out of the equipment that we have. And when we did the reconstruction and they reassessed that pool infrastructure, you're right. It's the same equipment that it was before.
right.
And what our technicians have told us is that if you keep using the pool at the rate you were using it before, you're going to cut the life of this equipment even sooner. So we're trying to prolong. We didn't redo all that infrastructure. We're trying to prolong that now by taking more time in between and actually allowing the pool to be used less. So there are down times that it's there, and that's been prescribed for us by the technicians, so that there's an opportunity for that old equipment to do a better job of chlorinating, rejuvenating the water, etc. And so we feel for you guys. You've been good to us, and you've come forward a number of times, and we've tried to be as clear and honest as we could with each answer. But the board, unless they decide to change their policy, can't make a different decision than what we've already made, because we've analyzed it and made that decision within the policy that the board provides us.
So, real quick, you said a third party would be the third on your agenda, right? As far as the importance of using the pool. Private party is number 3, correct?
The order: college, then schools, then clubs.
Right. So right now it's just no to all third parties.
Well, this is a setup, because obviously you're aware of some third party that's in there, and then you're gonna, as soon as I say yes, you're gonna go, well, I know of somebody who's in there.
No. I'm not trying. Look, this is why I hate. This is why I was saying about the political stuff. I'm not good at that. I'm a working class guy. I am here to support the families, the community, whatever. I'm not here to play words or
Right.
or use whatever. I'm just trying to have a open conversation that I just care about the kids in the club.
Right.
And also the other people as well. We had master swimmers that came in and won gold at open water in San Francisco in Half Moon Bay, they were 62 years old, man and wife. So it's, I like seeing that stuff, not just people coming out who has the best kid, the most money to have Olympic swimmer.
Yeah, that's all.
So that's all I would just want. I'll leave it at that. I'm just, and unfortunately everybody bailed on me today, so I'm here by myself. I'm just here to talk openly and just say we're still looking for pool time. If there's anything you guys can do, and if there's anything we can work out to even throw more money at the pump situation, we have lots of fundraisers. We're willing to do whatever you guys ask us to do. That's just all that I can say, I guess.
I
That's all.
gotcha. I appreciate
No
that.
political agenda, no traps, no chess, no nothing. I'm just here to get kids to swim for the community, and then the community
Alright.
to be able to swim. That's it.
Very good, very good.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So with that, we are moving towards our board and executive staff reports. And so we're going to start with our student trustee, Isabella. And I think this may be, is this your last meeting today, or are you going to be with us in June?
I think I'll probably be, is this, I'm not sure how it works, yes.
Yeah, this is your culminating meeting.
Okay.
I don't mean
No.
that. Okay, so you are on for your report.
So our student executive board, it has been elected for our fall semester, except for a couple positions that do need to be appointed. I believe that we have vice president, student ambassador, commissioner of records, and also commissioner of activities that are going to be up for appointment. And the only requirements to be appointed to that position is that you're enrolled in our class Tuesdays and Thursdays, and then you have a meeting with the executive board that was elected and our advisor Deborah Douglas, and they will decide based on the candidates who they want to appoint to the position, and then you'll be sworn in. We also conducted our STEPS event, according with the Welcome Center and several other members and faculty that volunteered their time for that, and we served many students, and I believe that every freshman went away with every class that they needed for fall and summer, and if not, then they just rearranged their schedule. And even our Giant Days, we ended up running out of room in our Visalia and our Tulare Giant Days after that freshman orientation. So we're going to be opening up more Giant Days for those students. We also are having our finals week coming up for students for the next 2 weeks. And I believe Student Senate will be conducting 3 days of snacks and drinks for students if they want to grab something to go on their way to the finals. And we also received our plaques for the executive board members for the 2017-2018 year. And we received our awards that was voted on by the class, and then the outstanding leadership, which was voted on by the class, but Debbie ultimately decided, and that went to Shane Strong. Most inspirational, I was awarded that one, so I was very proud of that one. And then we also had our outstanding growth and leadership, and those, we had a tie for that, so that was awarded to Johnny and then also Areli. And we also, our clubs, we have the list for the club points, and I believe that AGS was in first place, EOPS was in second place, and College Republicans was in third place. So they received a financial reward that goes into their budget based on the points that they did. They get points on how active they are, how much they volunteer, and all of that stuff. And I believe that concludes my report.
All right, very good. Questions for Isabel?
You're around another year, no?
Yes, I'm
you
around
are.
another year.
Okay.
Who's still gonna be trustee?
Tim, I don't know his last name, but it's Tim. I know for sure Tim got elected to it.
Oh, so you're done with us, huh?
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm gonna try to get appointed to a position in the fall.
Yeah, she's done with us. Okay, board member reports. Starting to my left with board members on wall.
I would report, I see Tim's not here, but we had the President's Cup golf tournament. It was the most successful one we've had in this past 6 years. I think our revenue went from like $37,000 to $51,000. The net went from $18,000 to $27,000. And they use those funds primarily to help mentor student athletes. And so it was a very successful one. We had 144 players, I believe, showed up, and had a major sponsor this time for the first time ever. The Ritchie family was a $5,000 sponsor, which helped us raise the kind of money. And it was fun. It was a fun 5 hours of golf, and Stan and Brent did a great job with the presentation beforehand, and we had a great time.
Didn't you say that the substantial winnings came back?
Yes, both the winning team, one of the guys on the winning team that was on the committee, and I told him, I said, you know, when I won this thing, they made me give the money back. And he gave it back.
No pressure.
So he gave it back, and then
There goes that sponsorship for next year.
It may not be on the committee next year. But, no, they volunteered to give it back, but both teams with 19 under par, if you can imagine that, so the first and second place. That's, for people that know golf, that's a lot. And the one team had four eagles were out there, and still only had 19. Yeah, a team that won it had 17 birdies and 1 eagle.
Wow.
Anyway,
Good golfers.
I'm done.
I'm just gonna quickly say the last few, couple of weeks, I've heard from quite a few, parents in my district about they've been going to senior nights for sports, throughout the last 6 months, but maybe especially baseball. And there's a handful of student athletes, saying they're coming to COS. And that's kind of a new thing again. I think it's become more, if you don't all do it, but the recruitment's been good, and I see a lot of excitement from our local kids to stay put here instead of trying to go elsewhere. So that's something to be said about our athletics program, and I hear good things, and I just want to share that because it's getting back to me, that's for sure. Good job.
All right, even though Board Member Sherman gave a very long report about the golf tournament, there's one important fact that he left out, and that is
Well, that you played in it. I
the
forgot that.
the team that I was on dropped the information on me right before we teed off that last year they had the same group of folks basically, and they told me they finished last. So my duty on the team was try to lift them out of last place. And
Did you do it?
How'd you
well,
do?
we had our A player was Mr. Woods there, and he carried us most of the way. But was there something special that happened on the first hole?
Oh, is that the
On
one
the-
you chipped in for an eagle?
See, he already forgot that I chipped in for the eagle. No race for you. I also attended the faculty awards that was on last Wednesday, I believe, and it was a very nice function. While you were there, and some retirements and longevity awards, and I certainly understand why our students here at COS have some of the best, if not the best, instruction of all the junior colleges in California from what I saw at that event. So thank you for that.
Ken, I might say we all of the board members attended with Stan and Dr. Castro at a meeting was that last week? When that happened?
2 weeks ago, I
We
think.
were all there.
For Fresno
That was
State,
good, and
and
he
the
talked-
partnership.
You both talked about how the partnership is working with the college and how it's going to expand with Fresno State, and that was very good. But all four of us attended that.
Okay, thank you for that reminder. Doesn't appear we're going to have a foundation report.
And
I
Mr.
don't
Foster
see,
is not
Ken.
able to be here tonight, he has no report.
Okay. Item B, accreditation report.
To have prepared for them, like our distance education and access to our classes. So all of those things that we need to have ready for October, we worked through with them today. And we expect to be working with them over the next couple of months as we get prepared for the visit, which is October 1st through 4th. So we feel really good about that. Went really well today. And then I have an update, or we have the first read of the institutional self-evaluation report later on the agenda.
All right. Getting exciting. Superintendent's report.
I want to start, we have some introductions tonight of new staff and some division chairs, but I wanted to quickly just take a moment, since this is Isabella's last official meeting with us, and then the academic year will be over, to publicly acknowledge you, Isabella, and thank you for the work that you've done this year. We know, particularly Megan and I, the time and energy that goes into being the student trustee and the additional reading that you do, and we've enjoyed not only the opportunity for you to be up here with us, but we get especially excited when you jump in and make a motion or second a motion. And she's also been a really great liaison for this board to our participatory governance process. And so when we see Bella in her other roles, when she is at District Governance Senate or at Student Senate, she is a really high quality source of information, and I think has helped the Student Senate overall really elevate their understanding of the role of the board. And couldn't have happened at a better time now, because we're preparing Student Senate for our fall visit for accreditation next year. And she's been a really key part of that, so that we're really glad that she's going to be here with us. And I wanted to call you up, Isabella, just to give you a little token of our appreciation. Thank you, a gift card, and then, as is customary, we give all of our outgoing student board, student representatives to the Board of Trustees their portrait from the board picture. You're probably not going to put that up in your dorm when you transfer, but trust me, your mom wants that picture. Yeah. Okay, next, we have some introductions, and we're going to start with some new faculty.
Yes, I'm going to ask Dr. Shingle and Belinda Kirsten to come up, and they'll be introducing our first, the next two new faculty. We've been bringing them up as we hire them, so they're going to introduce our two new full-time nursing faculty.
So we have Kathy Glasgow and Carrie Cochran, who has been an adjunct faculty with us for the last 10 years. Kathy worked with us as an adjunct faculty for a few years. So Kathy and Carrie.
This is Kathy.
And this is Carrie. So we're really excited because they really know their nursing. And in fact, one of the things Kathy told me, she went back to school to become a nurse practitioner because she really wanted to understand nursing and everything that it embodies. Carrie, on the other hand, has been a fabulous mentor for us, along with adjunct faculty. She takes our leadership students and she helps guide them through the whole process. And she's a wonderful asset to our new faculty.
As a new dean to this area and not being a nurse, I have to say I was extremely impressed with the evaluation process, the background information that they presented in their applications, their letters of recommendation. And it really takes a special person to leave clinical bedside nursing and come to the college and teach. And I can't be more happy to welcome them to our division team. And these are your new rock stars in nursing.
They didn't tell you
I don't
guys that you
think-
had to sing the national anthem?
I don't think they want to come to the podium.
No speeches, huh?
I just have one question. Are both of you, what's your background? You guys both born in Visalia? Okay.
Wait, what was that first part? Oh, just saying.
I'm just a good old Visalia girl.
You are. Okay, good, welcome.
Welcome, thank you. All right, next in line.
So we have, I'm going to introduce our new division chairs. And as you know, our division chairs take a 3-year, they're elected in for 3 years, and they can serve a term twice. And so both of the new division chairs that we have coming in, this is not their first round. And it's funny, I was looking up how long they've been here, and they were both hired in 2001. So they've been here almost 17 years each. And it's funny because Brian just said to me, yeah, but we drew straws, and James is just a step ahead of me on the seniority list. So they're right next to each other. And so see, he still has to buy coffee for James, he says. So, but they've both been here 17 years, and for them to still have the energy to be stepping into the division chair role and care about doing that very intense job is pretty good. So we're excited to have them both. I'm going to ask Dr. Wilcoxon to come up and introduce Brian first.
Thank you. I don't have a whole lot to add to that, but I would just give you a little bit of background about Brian. His background in particular, he's got a BS in Business Administration at the major in Marketing, an MBA in Technology Management. As Dr. Lucerna mentioned, he's been a full-time instructor here at COS since 2001. He teaches general business and computer application classes. And this is, again, as Dr. Lucerna mentioned, this will be actually his third time as division chair. And so we're all looking forward to working with Brian, myself in particular, because it'll be working with him in a little bit of different light than what I formerly worked with him as. So please join me in congratulating and welcoming Mr. Betancourt as our new division chair.
Well, I think really the first question is why? Why do it again? No, really after a 3-year hiatus, I'm very excited to get back into the role and leading the division, working with the division and collaborating, of course, with our new dean, Jesse, who's been nothing but supportive. I think Janelle Spencer, my predecessor of division chairs there, has done a fabulous job and really righting the ship, keeping things going well, and it's going to be a smooth transition as we look to next year. If I had to prioritize, I think some of the things that we really probably need to focus in on is getting a little bit larger adjunct pool, finding some qualified instructors in the computer area, especially I'm sure Kristen would like that, to get someone consistently out there to be able to teach our Computer 5. You know, one of the things that I know it's going to be inevitable, but in the near future we have a couple full-time, retirements coming up. I think we need to start getting that clearly documented into our program review, getting our ducks in a row, and start making sure that we have the rationale and the justifiability of having that, so we can replace those full-time instructors, because that's going to leave a void. We've done a nice job partnering with the high schools as far as dual enrollment. We have 2 classes being offered out at the Hanford High School, which has done very well. And in a couple weeks, we'll be interviewing for a new position that will be taught at Golden West in the area of marketing. So we hope that'll go well on that. One of the most important resources that our students have in the business division is our computer lab. They rely heavily on that to complete their coursework, study for exams, prepare, work in group projects, and so forth. And we really hope that we can continue to have that funding be available for them. I'm excited to do this, excited to be back. I'd also like to take this opportunity as the division chair coming in to say a big thank you to Stan, to wish you nothing but the best of luck, your dedication, your loyalty, your service. Best of luck in your years to come.
Thanks, Brian.
You're welcome. And to my good old friend Brent, the new El Capitan, I look forward to working with you as well. So.
The mischief that we had on this campus as 10-year-olds, I can't believe I hired either of them.
No. And a little bit of nostalgia is in 1985, I sat right there where Megan's sitting and took a class here taught by the late, great Dr. Hamilton. Psych 1 was taught right in here. I believe I got the highest grade in class. I don't think transcripts go back that far, so you're good. So I'm good.
Question, any relation to Bill?
A little bit, yes. He is my father.
Okay. I see him all the time. So.
Good, yeah.
So Brian,
Yes, sir.
About reminiscing, when I was going to COS, your dad was the football coach,
Right.
and won that state championship down in Bakersfield.
Right, against Fullerton.
Against Fullerton Junior College, but and
What
I've never.
position did you play?
Well, unfortunately, I didn't play. I was a spectator. But I can tell you that they went up to West Valley and beat West Valley in a downpour. It rained so much that. But I've never admitted this before, but I believe your dad lives on the golf course down in the Napomo area, does he?
They did. They recently moved back in August to
Okay.
be closer to the
But,
grandkids.
I was told that when he did, he lived on the around the 11th hole.
Right.
And I shouldn't admit this, but
You're
it
the
was kind of a
co-host.
windy day, and I was hitting a 7-iron into the, and I think I put one on the roof of his house.
That's good.
At least you didn't break the picture window or anything.
No, but anyway, so that's what Al Branco told me. Well, that's where Bill Betancourt lives. All right, well,
Thank you.
And thank you.
Thank you.
And I went to high school with both Brent and Brian, and I was 2 years ahead of them, so I have pictures of when they were 12, and if anyone wants to see them, I'll break them out. The highest buyer of those pictures. So our other division chair is not here. Did you text him, Lamar? So James McDonald is coming in, and you probably all know James from our Fine Arts Division. He is one of our theater faculty, and so I'm sure he's busy in the theater right now because James is one of those who is here from 6 a.m. until midnight with his dedication to the theater. He is constantly here, he's constantly working, and he is very focused on our students. He's been here for 17 years, as we said, hired in 2001, and this also is his third round as division chair. So he was actually division chair for the Fine Arts Department when I was dean, so we worked really closely together as dean and division chair over that area, and his term ended in 2015, and he so wanted to stay on, but our contract has a term limit for division chairs, and he wanted to stay so bad. So I think the past 3 years has been so rough for him watching Dr. Wisey in that role, but Tom did a great job, and now James is excited to be elected back in, and I think he will do a really great job. And he knows the ropes, and it'll be just smooth for him. And as we have a new dean coming into that area, I'm sure that James will work closely with him and help get our new dean on board as well. So I just want to welcome James as well, even though he's not here. So tell him I said good words about him, Steve. Okay.
Okay, very good. All right, Academic Senate is next. I see Dr. Tremble is here.
So I had to pick the long day to have a report. The end of last month, we attended the state plenary session up in San Mateo. 5 representatives from the Academic Senate attended. The majority of the discussion centered around 3 topics, which are fairly hot in the state right now: guided pathways and AB 705, the online college, and the new funding formula. Basically, the districts seem to be accepting and working through how they're implementing their guided pathways into their existing systems. However, the conflagration around the new requirements for math and English and students being able to complete within a year, that had a lot more discussion, a lot more concern, primarily from math. Most of the issue is that since the guidance hadn't come out from the chancellor's office, they're still not sure exactly what the parameters are going to be. But it looks basically like those students that are headed into a STEM major will take one track, and basically almost everybody else is going to end up in statistics. And that means a huge change for every district in the state. That teachers who have been teaching algebra for nearly their entire career will have to be teaching statistics. That's a huge change. It's not something that you just swap over and pick it right up. There's also a lot of concern about having the additional technology. Statistics is generally taught with a software and hardware package. So having the schools having the appropriate resources for that many students that used to be in the other courses now to have access, that's going to be very difficult for everybody. And it doesn't help that the guidelines still haven't come out. So the problem is that the timeline for implementation is getting shorter all the time. The second main topic, huge topic, was the proposal by the governor for the fully online college. You recall that in his initial budget proposal that he wants the Chancellor's Office to institute a fully online college that was supposed to target people who are somehow not able to get to community colleges and help them get better jobs. It was touted as being non-competitive in that it would not compete with our existing programs. The concept was put forward that they would not be offering certificates or degrees, but would be doing things called badges, which would be basically just a couple of skill courses. The three of the vice chancellors were present at a question and answer session, and one of the points that was brought up is that if the businesses aren't on board and they're not going to accept the badges, you're not helping these people at all. You know, businesses generally look for degrees and certificates that they can count on. Another problem is that they're going to have to build an entirely new infrastructure for this. They're going to have and develop student support services. We know from our experience with accreditation how we had to scramble to get the appropriate student support services for all of our online students. That's going to have to happen here, and it's going to have to happen from scratch because this is a fully online, non-existing college. They originally weren't worried about getting accreditation too quickly. However, one of the problems they've just made for themselves is that while initially they said they were not going to compete with us, the very first program that they have now instituted in this fully online college happens to be a degree program at a number of institutions in the state. And they've just come out with a new announcement, it was either this morning or yesterday, in working with the technology people in Silicon Valley, that they're going to be looking at developing courseware to get people into IT jobs, also competing with all of us. And if they're going to have degrees, they have to be accredited. That means they have to have all the things that we have. One of the suggestions that was put forward, and clearly it was a really strong point, is that the governor may be excused for not knowing this, but the chancellor's office ought to, is that if you were going to do this, the cheaper way to do it and more effective way to do it is to give the money to an existing district who knows how to do this, and that's Coast College. Coast College is a rock star in online and has been for years. Years. They give lots and lots of degrees and certificates completely online. So if this was the goal, the better way to do it was to simply give them the money that they could build out existing infrastructures that they know how to do already, and it would be a lot cheaper. It would be hitting the ground running. They're already accredited, all the rest of it.
That's too easy.
Evidently. So the vice chancellors had no answer for that suggestion. The other concern was really more of a concern than a discussion because we hadn't heard the proposal from the chancellor's office, which is now out, and that's on the new funding formula and how that's going to impact the districts. And until it goes into effect and you start figuring out all the point system, it's going to be difficult to understand where we're all going to land. Starting next year, the Academic Senate is going to be under new leadership. Greg Turner's our new Academic Senate President, and Juan Arzola is our new Academic Senate Vice President. Last Wednesday, as Ken noted, we had our faculty awards ceremony, and I'd like to thank you, Ken, for coming. It really means a lot to the faculty to see the board there, that they recognize the hard work that the faculty put in. It really does mean a lot. We gave out 10-year awards, then 10-year awards, 20 years, and even a couple of 30-year awards, along with some retirements. And it's really a fun time to recognize all the hard work that the faculty put in. This is my final board meeting, so this is my little happy dance.
It's got to be longer than that.
It's been an honor to represent the faculty here at COS for the last 5.5 years, and it's been a pleasure working with you all. You have made it very easy. You've always been willing to listen to the faculty perspective, even if you didn't agree, which is fine, and I do appreciate that. I will occasionally miss seeing you But I like having my one Monday nights back. Thank you.
Thank you, Tia.
Okay. Anybody have any questions or comments?
No, it's been a pleasure working with you as well.
Thanks.
Yeah, it really has. Wasn't there a line from a movie that's, from a famous movie or famous line that said, I don't need no stinking badge? Or was that Treasure of the Sierra Madre? Does somebody? Pardon me? No, it was an old Treasure of the Sierra Madre, and, yeah, I don't need no, so that, so much for that online badge. All right, let's see, next is Costa update, and Mr. Hurst.
Thank you. Friday represented the end of our new Costa election cycle. And with that, we have almost completed a slow process of reforming the union and refocusing its efforts on maybe different priorities than what we had had before. We've elected, or we've seated a new 20-member representative council. This is brand new to our college. And we re-elected the current executive board. And even though the current executive board ran without opposition, 73% of faculty still felt that it was important enough to show their support for us to vote anyway. So I'm actually kind of humbled by that, because it's been this multi-year process of change has not been without contentiousness, but we have brand new bylaws, we have new standing rules, and we brought new resources to campus, focusing on innovative teaching practices, getting these practices, talking about what we do to other campuses across the state, and so forth. So I'm proud to report several positive changes that we've managed, or we've been party to this year. First, we found a shared commitment to open dialogue with management, particularly with Jennifer, Brent, John, and Stan. I want to thank all of you for your willingness to work with us. We've been addressing issues proactively and with mutual respect, and I appreciate their trust in us and the board's trust in us. And I'd like to thank all of you for that trust. Secondly, we've focused our union efforts primarily on professional development, other support faculty need, as the Chancellor's office just rolls out the changes without much consultation with what we think might be nice. So what Thea mentioned about math is the same thing that is happening in English, and we actually know a little bit more about what we're supposed to be doing, but how we're supposed to be doing it is still up in the air. The goal of the union, really, though, is a sustainable support system that helps our students get the best instruction, because that's why we're all here to begin with. Last but not least, we're committed to supporting, in partnership with the district, efforts to promote attitudes of investment in our shared governance process, pride in our workplace expertise. We've talked about this at district governance. I've talked about it privately with management, and I think it's particularly important to mention that I know that this commitment is shared by staff, by part-time faculty, by management, by the board. Everybody is involved in this, and I feel like we all know where working at cross purposes got us, right? I'm just glad that in some small way, as Costa president, I've been able to influence, some of the positive changes on campus as far as faculty goes, and I hope, my intention is to continue that process. So in closing, I'm proud that in so many ways, College of Sequoias I think we're ahead of the statewide curve when it comes to leadership and innovative teaching. And I'm happy that we're a part of that. Our students benefit, our community benefits, and frankly, it's just a win-win. We can't afford not to support. I thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Mr. Zumwalt.
I think that's the first time we've ever applauded a
cost it or?
I'd like to make a little,
That's another.
I'd like to react to your comments a little bit. I was listening to Lori Cardoza talk in the last few hours about how she hears the word "we" a lot and doesn't seem to hear us and them much anymore. You expressed a change in views from your side, your perspective. I hope you see the same thing in us.
I do. I have been. It has been a nice experience, and I appreciate what you're saying.
Thank you, John. All right, Mr. Lamar is up next with the CSEA report.
Yes, just very quickly.
And you're not a stand-in for James McDonald.
I could be. Short. I think we have a big film class tonight. We have over 240 students, and I'm pretty sure he's trying to get all of the papers. They have to write a paper each meeting, and he has to get them graded, and he just went to a big museum opening in Chicago, and he just got back, so I'm sure he's at his computer trying to get all those papers entered for the students. So it's a huge class, and he and I co-teach that over there. But back to CSEA, we have our first date set for negotiations, June 13th, so we're excited to get into that. And today I just wanted to give a big thank you out to my PACE chair and vice chair, Alexander Gomez and Renee Church. They're both leaving those positions between family and just work. There's no time left, so I just wanted to thank them for all the work they do, because our PACE committee is probably one of the busiest and best committees I think on this campus. They just do a wonderful job in everything they do, so now I've got to go out and find somebody else. But I just wanted to thank them publicly. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. All right, Dr. Erickson with the COSAPA.
Sounds like you were aware of the swim thing.
Okay.
You haven't heard about this, we told you about them. The fall when they're still at it. Sheesh.
Good evening. Last week I was here at the usual time and realized that I had jumped a week ahead. So some of the information I'm going to share with you is actually from May 7th. And one of the things I just wanted to say is I'm trying not to be nervous when I come here, because everybody is either so quick or it's no report, and then I stand up and say something, so I hope that's all right, because I really have learned to enjoy coming and learning to know your personalities. And what I wanted to say, first of all, is just also a thank you to the PACE committee, because I went to the celebration acknowledging President Stan. That was a beautiful event, and also the Giant Awards. And Steve was great master of ceremonies at both of those events. And so they were really beautiful afternoons and a nice celebration. The Giant Awards were interesting, and I was happy to see that adjunct faculty member, Mr. Bronson, who had been 33 years and was awarded. And the part that, what a delightful person, and just to have the commitment and to be such a great representative of what adjuncts do out of their love of students and their love and feeling called to be of service to the students at the college. What's sad is to know that he had lost, 900 weekends or something like that for all the work that he had done. And that part is always a concern for me, because I think that we show a lot of our integrity by the honesty of how we run a business and how much hours are spent rather than what people are doing as contributions. One of the things that I found out about is that when we ran out of faculty enrichment money, which had been, like I had said last meeting, raised from $2,000 to $10,000, I had the same question that I thought you had. Where did we spend that $10,000? So that's what I did as an investigation. I wanted to find out how we had spent that money, what it was used for, and also just to see the events that were taking place. Because I had talked about how adjunct faculty members internally established the brown bag once a month, that we could have information that would provide strategies of instructional improvement and also ways to share strategies of engaging students. And I was just curious about how that money was used. And one of the things you'll notice on the first page that looks like this it shows how many people attended convocation and division meetings. And one of the things that you may not have been aware of is the only people that are paid when they attend convocation and division meetings are the people that happen to be teaching that same day. So I just thought it was very interesting to find out the number of people who do come because they care about the state of the college and determining the destination of the new academic year, and then also being of support in their division meetings. So that part was interesting because there was only 18 hours paid for the people who attended. The other part that was interesting to me is how many people were attending different events that were on campus. So there are people on this orange sheet that was sent is the description of the meetings, and that includes the accreditation summit, adjunct orientation meetings that was put on by Joseph Teller, some of the adjunct to full-time workshop, which that's kind of interesting too, isn't it? I wonder if that should come out of a different fund. When you're being oriented from becoming an adjunct to a full-time teacher, if that should be something that would be funded and identified differently. And then looking at just some of the people who've attended the Brown Bag once-a-month meetings. So we really have such a great representation of people who are attending Convocation Week activities, different workshops, being part of Dialogue Day. And then I thought it was also interesting at the very last page just to see the number of adjunct faculty who are there for scholarship review and involved in that type of time. So that's how the $10,000 was spent. And so I just thought if it was my checking account, I would want to know where that money went, and I thought you might want to as well. I also wanted to just, I don't know if I will see you next month. I'm planning on going to Chicago, and we're celebrating my sister's 60th birthday, and we have the whole family is going to a Cubs game at Wrigley Field to celebrate. So I may not see you next week.
And
I'm
you're
not
gonna
quite
miss
sure.
the meeting for that?
Yeah, I think so. Last time I was at Wrigley Park, I saw some older gentlemen come up out of the stairway, and they see that ivy, and they grab their heart, and one of them said, "I've waited all my life to come to this place." And so we're excited to get the whole family together to do that. But I hope I'll be here in July. I am elected to be part of the bargaining team for the adjuncts, but my term as president, I was fulfilling the last year of a 2-year term for a adjunct faculty member who became full-time also. So I'm not sure if I'll see you at board meetings in the fall. We'll see how people want that to go. The other thing that we want to report for this year, adjuncts it's like handling Mercury because there's so many changes. You have people that go from adjunct to full-time. You also have people who are only teaching for one semester, one term. I know that there's probably about 70 hires. That was the information I was given for adjuncts over the course of a year. So you know that list continually changes, but we have a list that's very accurate now, and we have over 55% of available adjuncts who are now members of COSAFA. So I'm happy to know that they are pleased and they know the work that we're doing to continue dialogue. So I also thank you for our involvement. And Stan, I may not see you when you start, but I had my students sign a card for you and also give you a gift card. And when you announced that you were retiring, I said, "Are you sure you don't want to be part of adjunct bargaining? Because we would love to have you on our side of the table for a change."
That's funny. You might have competition now that you know he's out for hire.
Well, I have a confession to make, chastising you for missing a meeting too. I'm just looking at my calendar here, and the second week of September, I'm going to be in Chicago, and I'm going to Wrigley Field. And that may fall on September 10th, which is a board meeting. Wow.
And then I happened to see Father John today. I was at an event at St. Anthony's, and I told him about our conversation by the pool.
Oh, good.
And he said to make sure I said hello to you the next time I saw you.
All right.
And why haven't you been to confession?
Okay, enough of that. Information items, the accreditation, institutional self-evaluation report, and Dr. Lucerna told us this was coming, so here it is.
Right here.
All right, thank you. So I am happy to be presenting the institutional self-evaluation report, let's see, what's the word? Known as the ICER. And so today, I'm not gonna go through the report with you because it will be back for you in June for approval. So it's an information item tonight. I just have a quick PowerPoint that's gonna just remind us of how we got to this step here. So what I wanna share with you is the timeline that we used for this self-evaluation. So back in fall of 2015, our president superintendent convened the accreditation work group. In spring of 16, the work group began working on identified data points and addressing potential gaps that we found in the standards, eligibility requirements, or policies. In fall of 16, when I say the work group, there's a lot of people on the work group, and they all worked with other faculty, other staff, and other administrators on campus. So there was really an effort from a lot of people, as well as all of our governance groups. And so in fall of 16, we started drafting the standards and addressing some of the gaps that we had found. Spring of 17, reviewed data, developed the first draft of the ICER. So we were meeting on a regular basis, and the subcommittees were drafting their work on each standard. In fall of 17, we sent out each month a different one of the standards via a COS e-news to the entire campus community. And so we had a survey attached to that so folks could read through each section. So one at a time, like September, we sent out standard 1 and people could read through that. And then there was a survey that allowed them to provide feedback. We took that feedback, we reviewed it, and we incorporated it into next drafts. Those also, we had opportunities for the different governance groups to provide feedback on potential gaps and different areas that we brought forward to each group. And so we got a lot of feedback in fall of each standard. And in spring, as you recall, we had a summit on our quality focus essay in January. We were working on that essay, developing our quality focus essay, and then completing final edits. And all of those were required to have 2 areas that we'd be working on in the next 3 to 4 years. And we aligned those through that summit with our work we're doing on the strategic plan, as well as the initiatives from the state. So the ICER was compiled and went to our editor, and the draft went to Academic Senate and District Governance Senate in April and May, and were approved by both groups at their last meetings, and we really appreciate that. And so today it's here for information item, and it will go to you for approval at the June meeting, and then we will submit it to the ACCJC by July. And where we are in the process right now is our evidence team is working on connecting the evidence to the report. Right now you have a long list of evidence with links to each document, and we've had the draft has been through our editor, and we are working to add final edits and final comments from folks now. So what you see in January should be a complete final draft. Sorry, I said January. June. What you will see in June, all those J months, the June one will have all of those edits in it. And again, it will also be going forward to our graphics, to be putting some final graphics in. And so you should see a good update final version in June. I just wanted to share the kind of the format. So we have the 2 co-chairs and Superintendent Carasosa serves as advisory for the work group. And each of the standards had tri-chairs, faculty, staff, and administrator serving on each each standard. And then there were numerous other members that sat on each standard subcommittee who met throughout this. So we started in 2015, so it's been a 2-year process leading up to this. And so we had a number of folks serving on those subcommittees that were providing input. And then most recently, our evidence team, we really thank them because they've done a fantastic job of getting all of the evidence, bringing it in, getting copies of it, and now are in the process of attaching it to the report. So this group has worked really hard along with numerous other folks to get this complete. So as I mentioned earlier, we now have our site visit October 1st through 4th. Convocation, at our fall convocation, we have some time set aside to share some information with the entire college community about what to expect in October. And then we're really gonna try to have some fun with it. So we've got a group of folks who are working on our marketing plan for the accreditation site visit, so they'll be doing some fun things, giving away prizes, having quizzes. We're going to have some Jeopardy games, and they're really looking forward to doing some fun marketing and just getting information out to everybody on campus about what's happening and what to expect. So we're all prepared by the time the team gets here in October. And we will have a forum in late September where we will share some final information and give away the prizes and really just kind of have time for a lot of celebration. And we shared this with the team that was here this morning, is that we're really looking forward to this. We really can't wait to show them all the great work that we've done over the past several years. And, from our planning to our participatory governance to the way we work together, the we that we talked about earlier. And I think we're just really looking forward to sharing that. And we feel really good about where we are with the report and all of the work we've done. So I wanted to make sure to give you that background so you remember just where we are at this point and how this report has been a 2-year process leading up to what you now have in your hands. And I know you got it on Friday, so I'm sure you spent the whole weekend reading all 425 pages. But in reality, you have a month. And so in between now and the June meeting, if you have any questions at all, please do not hesitate to reach out to me, and I'll be happy to answer any questions between now and the June meeting. And and provide any resources or support that you need. But we look forward to presenting it as an action item in June and see if you have any questions.
All right. Questions at this point? Comments? Dr. Lucena, by the time, I noticed on your calendar here that when you mentioned spring of 18 and their final edits, and then by the time the document goes to the academic and district governance senate, there's still an opportunity there to make changes or edits or
Yes.
corrections, whatever
It
the
went-
case might be. And does that typically happen at that point?
Sure. And so it went to those governance groups for a first reading at the end of April, and now mind you though, everyone saw each section back in fall. So if you go back to fall of 17, there was an opportunity to read one section at a time and provide feedback then. So we really encouraged people to give the feedback in the fall.
Right.
And so when we took it in May, they had 2 reads, and hopefully most of them had read the content back in the fall. But what we were really asking folks to do in the May and April time was to look at, is there any areas that we missed? Is there anything that stands out? And then really what we wanted to do is at the end of each section, you have to say we meet the standard, which we do in all areas, but we also felt like there's some areas where we exceed the standard. So we really asked folks to look at it and say, where do we actually exceed the standard? Because we want to point that out as well. Where do we not only meet it, but we do better? And so we asked people to give us feedback. So yeah, we do have feedback, and there were some specific questions that we had that we were still asking some people. So we're still making some edits. I think the writing team is meeting again on Thursday, and we'll be incorporating some of those edits. But yes, and there's still time even now to give some feedback.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? All right,
Did I hear her say things like fun
Yeah.
and looking forward to? Something's different than 6 years ago.
That's why it's fun.
You're not locked in a room
Because
with
it's
somebody
different.
shoving food under
Because
the
it's
door.
different, yeah.
Exactly, exactly.
We were giving them
Yes.
inmate lunch under the door.
Exactly. Thank you.
All right. Christine Stanton is next with items 2 and 3, the quarterly update and the quarterly financial report. The
Yeah.
Q something, Q11Q.
And I don't know if we use the word fun with these, but I'll try and be
I do.
quick.
I do.
Yeah. So our first reports are simply our, sorry, you pulling them
I'm
up?
having trouble with that.
Okay, so this is just the quarterly update, budget accountability, yeah. So it's just a few different reports that we bring to you for information. And the first one shows, okay, that's to point. The first shows our general fund unrestricted budget and the restricted side of the general fund. And it shows, we will always show you last month what you saw as a board and this month. And if you'll scroll on down, Megan, small changes, but last month we had a $73,000 surplus. We're at $48,580 this month. And categorical always budgets expenditures equal to revenues. And then below this, for the board and for anyone who's here that ever wants to see any change we make to our budget, we bring them to you each month. And so we try and divide it up. To the right there, you can see for May, there weren't any changes in April, but just a couple both classified and management salary changes, usually people leaving, people coming, or salary savings. And that changed our surplus. It lowered it a little bit. And that's that's the budget overall. And then you can scroll down. And again, we show changes by month. To the right, let's point, this right-hand side is all the categorical changes. So that's where the majority of our changes occur. You can scroll down, Megan. And as you go all the way down month by month, right there, you can see the changes were to unrestricted side, just minimal true-ups for a couple revenues, and then a few categoricals. And then for expenditures, similarly, if you'll scroll way down, we then give you the detail of what has occurred in this last month, and that we can go back up. That's pretty much it. So no large dollar items, but you did see kind of some the larger being classified and management, some salary changes, and then just some true-ups and transfers and things like that. So that is our budget document that we keep for your information. Anyone ever wants to see a change that's been made, it's right there. The next two documents are our projections. So we have, first of all, let me get there, projected revenues for the fiscal year that we're in. And we only bring these to you kind of the third, I guess the end of the second, end of the third quarter for you. But we are looking at, we have budgeted $60.1 million in revenues. We have $60.5 million in our budget currently. The differences are not large items, but you can scroll down. Federal revenue, none. State revenue really was mandate cost one-time funds, some additional funds that came in. And then local revenue, which comprised, I think, about $167,000, but mostly material fees and rental income. Truing that up to actual. And then we look at our projected expenditures, and I know this one's pretty interesting to everyone each year. And we have our budgets of $58.1 million. That was our adopted, sorry, I've got this sideways. Our working budget, which is current, is $60.5 million. Annualized projection is 58.8, or almost 58.9, which you always hear about these dollars that fall at the end of the year as we close our books, and where are those coming from? What has gone unspent? 1.6 million seems about average for where we have been the last few years that I've been here. The largest chunk right now is out of benefits, which a large portion of that was pre-funding some PERS and STRS, and $725,000 out of that million remains unallocated there. The others are just pretty normal. I will say service supplies, I want to commend all our departments and divisions because they're actually really spending them this year. And services, this is kind of normal to have some dollars. Hopefully a little more will be spent by the time we close the year. So that's
our expenditure projections. If there's any questions there. This is our financial report, and if you scroll up just a touch, yeah. So you can actually see the funds, each of our funds that we have. And maybe, can you get the whole thing on there? I don't know, Megan. Let's see. Just, yeah, you got it. The top section will show the fund balances and where we're looking at closing, ending fund balance, and the changes. And then the bottom section shows cash. So general fund, we're looking at ending fund balance of around 21.9, is that correct? 21.9 million. My eyes can't see up here too well. A couple things I will show you. Capital projects, we're spending more than we're bringing in because we had some funds from last year, and we're in the middle of many projects, I believe, Byron, but LED retrofits included. Farm special reserve, we have some large, well, actually small expenditures, but about $1 million in fund balance. This 1.9 million in expenditures of Linwood Reserve was the purchase of the Mooney Boulevard property, so that's happened this year. The bookstore, Sequoia's bookstore, a couple other building units, and an empty lot. OPEB trust, that 480,000, you might remember that we took this retiree health and welfare fund that has been around for a decade or so and decided to move out the remaining dollars to our OPEB trust. So a little later today, you'll see a resolution to close that fund. I'm trying to think what else might be of interest. We have our farm fund, we have student loans, these are athletics and band and such, and then our clubs. Cash, when you get to the bottom, 23 million in general fund, and total of 31 million for all our funds. So we are in a healthy position with our cash. And that's it for those reports. If no questions, we can move on to our quarterly financial report that we're required to file with the state. Any questions
Okay,
there?
questions on this report before we move to the next?
Okay, you got $23 million in cash. All expenses are paid, is that what we're saying, or?
Yeah, but that's
At a
not,
point
that's
in
not one
time.
year, that's year over year over year. It's been growing pretty steadily for the last 6 years. So our surplus is what is revenues exceeding expenditures. And that surplus you saw was 48,000 at this point in time for this year. Probably more will go unspent though at the end of the year.
Okay.
So looking at, the next item is our financial report. And we have to file this with the Chancellor's Office quarterly. And so this might help you as well as board members. But thank you. Basically, we have our revenues budgeted, and this goes back a few years. 17, 18 on the right is our current year. And our revenues budgeted total 60 million, 60.5 million, which I mentioned. 60.4 million is our budgeted expenditures. This 73,919 was actually a month ago, but that's what was reported to the board because of our timing difference, and that's our surplus. So not a significant surplus, but the 16 million in fund balance, am I reading that right? Yep, is going to stay about the same. We were projecting 27%. I think it'll be slightly higher as we close the year.
Okay, Christine, so is there simple, the fund balance, 16.2 mil here.
Yeah.
On the previous page, we saw 21 million fund balance. Is that a different point in time? Is that why that difference?
Yeah, actually, on
So
the
that's
previous page,
530 under general fund?
yeah, 531.
Yeah.
And so the anticipated fund balance at the end of the year, and that's, there's a lot of cash movement there as well, but I don't know off the top of my head what the differences are, but that was going back, that was actually March
Yeah, this is
31st.
March, yeah.
But the date says May 31st, so I apologize, I
That's
don't know the
okay.
difference there.
I didn't catch that. But
Yeah.
All right, well, that's fine.
But again, I do think this is what, if our budget was perfect, it would be the 16.4 million. But you saw in that prior expenditure projection, we could have $1.6 million or more fall as we close the book. So it'll probably be higher than that. Our annualized FTES, you may have heard me talking about reaching 10,100 this year. We actually have a report that shows 10,120 as of our latest FTS count. 9,700 was our prior year, so good growth. But just a reminder that that was actually 9,788, and we took 88 FTS and moved it over here to help us ensure reaching 10,000. And then, as you go just a little further, here's, so cash, that's one of the things when you asked Ken, I was wondering, were we talking cash or were we talking fund balance? But for cash, we're looking at 23.1 million at the end of the year, and always happy to see that none of that is borrowed funds. And then moving on down, that is unrestricted only, by the way. When you look at, if you don't mind moving just a touch more, there you go. Revenues over expenditures, there's that 73,000 again for where we are currently. You'll note we adopted 1.9 million, so the difference there was really our negotiations agreements. We adopted a healthy surplus and then we completed our negotiations.
Right.
So came to more of a balanced budget. And then year-to-date actuals really do bounce around, so we look more at how we project the end of the year. And then we go down to, have we settled any employee contracts? No. And if so, we would have listed it there. And then it just asks a couple other questions, such as, are there any significant events? Do we have any significant fiscal problems, et cetera? And we just answered no to those, as we're in good condition. So any other questions on that?
Okay, any other questions, comments? All right,
Okay,
thank you for
thank
that
you.
information. All right, that will move us to, I believe, the consent calendar. And so, all items listed on the consent calendar are considered routine and will be enacted by one motion. An item may be removed from the consent calendar at the request of any member of the Board of Trustees or any other person in the audience and considered as a separate agenda item. So with that, are there any items on consent calendar, items 4 through 12, that need to be pulled for discussion? If not, I would accept a motion for
So moved.
approval of the consent calendar.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second for approval of consent calendar. Any additional questions or discussion? If not, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, item 10, action items. Item 13, curriculum. Dr. Lucerna, item 13.
Okay. You have the report in front of you on curriculum, and again, this has been approved by our district-wide curriculum committee and our academic senate. And if you look at the first page, you see the new course, Math 135. And I just wanted to point out that these are what you've heard throughout the evening tonight, some of the new work that our faculty are doing on AB 705 and some of the math and English pathways. So this is one of the first courses that you'll see. And I just need to say how proud I am of the faculty and how well they've been working on these changes that are coming faster than we can read them. And so this is our first work from the math department, Math 135, which will be a college level algebra course for our science, technology, engineering, and math majors. So that's a new course. And then the other courses are modifications. On the rest of that page, there are 5-year reviews and minor changes. And on the back page, again, we have,
Nothing.
yeah, one more page on the back there.
Oh.
Oh, yeah, that was the next page. Those are all modifications. Minor modifications for courses, 5-year review. So it's just 2 front and back page today. So the recommendation is that the board approve the curriculum.
So moved.
All
Oh,
right.
Isabella has a question.
Just have a question.
Question.
So for the Math 135, for our incoming freshmen, a lot of them that are STEM majors, they did already register for Math 70. So would they switch that, or would this be applied to the spring semester?
This would be starting in fall of 2019. So all of so it's a year away.
sorry,
So
that's
no, that's
confusing.
okay because it's really confusing. That's a really good question. And so at this point with our curriculum, it's really too late to make a change for the fall. So we're gonna start implementing softly some of the changes in spring of 19, and then the full changes will happen in fall of 19. But it takes a long time for curriculum to get through. So we're working ahead of time, and hopefully in fall, you're gonna see a lot of these changes coming forward as well, but in fall of 18, but they're for implementation of fall of 19.
If you're an engineer and you take this class, is that a remedial class for you?
It's not, the new law requires us to have transfer level courses only. And so,
Let me put it over again. Will the incoming engineering majors that are really competent skip this class?
yes.
Okay.
Did we have a second? If we didn't, I'll second, so.
We haven't had have we had a motion?
He motioned,
Okay, we have a
I'll
motion,
second.
and now we have a second for the adoption of the curriculum report. Any additional questions? If not, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, we are moving on to items 14 and 15, board policies.
Okay, these board policies under item number 14 are back for a second read and consideration of final approval. You'll be reminded that BP 6520, you can see had no changes, but has a new date having been reviewed and then sent forward again. 6800 has some updated labeling in terms of what we call our district councils, committees, and senates. Also, some language specific to injury and illness prevention procedures and new requirements for that. And then board policy 6900 is new language that restates the district's requirement when contracting with outside vendors for services that might otherwise be offered through our own classified employee labor pool. So these are second and final readings. I'll take any questions, or we would recommend you consider approval.
Okay.
I'll make a motion that we waive the second reading for board policies 6520, 6800, and 6900, and approve these three policies.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for approval of the aforementioned board policies with the skipping of the read. So all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Approval. So that would move us to a couple other BPs.
Right. Next two are on your agenda now under item 15, and these two, one, the 6540, continues with the 6000 series that we had been bringing through this year, and shows you just a very simple name change correction to make sure that this one is up to date for our board policy manual. And then the second also is BP 1100. We actually took this one a little out of order, got it in here as a first reading because it sets forth the official district names. And before we had our visiting team arrive in the fall to take a look at our BPs and APs, we wanted to make sure, now that we have the Tulare College Center open and in full operation in the Hanford Educational Center, that we named those correctly in here, and then also have updated some of the earlier language. We no longer have a, quote, Visalia Farm. The Visalia campus is no longer, quote, the main campus. And then, of course, the old Tulare County Organization for Vocational Ed, the T-Cove Center, those are obsolete. So this first read represents just eliminating that obsolete language and adding the correct terminology to the naming. So these two would be for first read tonight in consideration of a waive. If you bring them back, waive them tonight, bring them back for a second reading, we'll have them in June for final approval.
Okay, move to waive.
Okay.
Make a motion to waive the first reading and move on to the second reading for BP 1100 and BP 6540.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to waive the first read and move to second for Board Policy 1100 and 6540. Are there any additional questions? If not, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. All right, and then we have item 16, and Mr. Bratch is,
John, information's not allow me this introduction.
and this is appointment of the VP of Student Services.
Hey, John runs tomorrow, so thanks, John.
I'm going with you guys, just putting that out.
I'll buy you lunch too. Well, let me cut to the chase and I'll come back and fill in some details. On behalf of our superintendent, as well as our two other vice presidents in addition to me, I am thrilled to announce our recommended appointment for the VP of Student Services as Jessica Morrison. So the process started the day after the board appointed me as the incoming superintendent and president. We advertised this position statewide and actually nationally. It was out for a month. We got, I think, 25 candidates that we screened. The 7 that were chosen for interviews went through the same dual panel process that our superintendent president went through, a stakeholder panel and a technical panel. From there, we identified 3 finalists that went through a second interview, and Jessica was fabulous at all times during that process and was a unanimous choice to be sent forward. Jessica has been with our district for 11 years. Started here as a counselor, moved into administration through the first year experience program, Title V grant that we had 5 years ago. We hired her as our Dean of Student Services, and together with her partner in crime, Michelle Brock, in my opinion, they've made the best student service dean duo in the state. They've been fabulous together, and really, it's just a thrill for me to be able to make this recommendation to the board for you to appoint Jessica Morrison as our new Vice President of Student Services. And if Jessica wants to step to the mic and say anything, they may have some questions for you.
Okay, well, first of all, I'd like to just say thank you to the board, President Carasosa, incoming President Calvin, for all of my colleagues here. I know all of you really well. And I'd just like to say thank you. These, especially these last years, 5 or 6 years, coming out of the show cause and getting to work on that. I mentioned that in my cover letter. I mentioned it, I think, during both of my interviews. Really was a pivotal turning point for me in that I knew this is where I wanted to work. It's, to me, the greatest testimony is when you see something in duress, in our case, a college in duress, and everyone pull together and work for the good of students the way that we did. And I think you can feel in the room the we's in here and the smiles and all of the ceremonies we've been a part of for both our faculty and our staff and our students in this last month and graduation. The warmth and the energy is why I work here. And so I feel honored and very happy to come to work every day with all of you. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Zumwalt.
I was just gonna make the motion.
All right. I'm searching
It's
for.
pretty important, it's pretty important that we get that motion, John.
Jessica's looking for a motion.
Think so? I move that the Board of Trustees approve the announcement of Jessica Morrison as the new Vice President of Student Services for the Sequoias Community College District.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for the approval of Jessica Morrison to the position of Vice President of Student Services. So any additional comments or questions? Not, all those, we have a motion and we have a second, so we
Mhm.
got that covered. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. There we go. Congratulations.
You know, Jessica, a lot of us have noticed your good work over the last several years, so none of us are surprised that you've risen to where you have.
Congratulations.
Very good.
We'll be spending a little more time with you now. Monday nights especially.
All right, item 17 on our agenda is item regarding, let's see, this is a resolution regarding
Yes.
upcoming election.
Yes. So you may recall, well, first of all, we have the regular cycle of elections coming up this election year in November for the 3 seats for our Board of Trustees that are in their normal cycle, concluding their 4-year cycle now, and up for reelection in November. And in addition, you know that we have the resignation from Board Member Earl Mann. So what this resolution reflects is a combination of the 3 wards that were coming up on the normal 4-year cycle for reelection, and the addition of a provisional election to be held simultaneous for Ward 3, but Ward 3 vacated by Board Member Earl Mann. The candidates vying for that particular board seat will go in knowing that they're only going to finish the remaining 2 years on that term. So running for election in Ward 3 would be for a 2-year term, beginning actually December at the end of this year, until the next regularly scheduled cycle for that election, which would be up in 2020. The other 3 seats, which are currently held now by Board Member Nunes, Board Member Sherman, Board Member Zumwalt, are up for their regular 4-year election cycle. This is the required resolution now, after we had Earl's resignation, to request both the regular election and the provisional election for the seat in Ward 3. So approval of this by the board tonight gives us the information we need to get back to the Tulare County Office of Education, which they will then dial in with the elections office for the November election.
Good.
Move to approve resolution 2018-08.
Second. We have a motion and a second for the adoption of resolution 2018-08. Is there any additional question or discussion? If not, then I would ask that Megan please poll the board.
Trustee Cardoza?
Aye.
Trustee Sherman?
Aye.
Trustee Zumwalt?
Aye.
Trustee Nunes?
Aye. Thank you. Resolution 1808 is unanimously adopted.
I'm sure that incoming Superintendent Calvin would be thrilled to know that it's quite possible that only Lori may be the only surviving trustee. How do you feel about starting from scratch?
I'll answer for you, Brent. If I could only have one, I'd take Lori.
Thank you.
Right?
We got this.
That can only be said when you're on your way out.
That's good.
You kind of stepped it out, John.
Order.
You opened the door, John. You went in.
All right. We have 5 minutes left, so we need to make precious use of our time here.
Okay.
Okay.
Item 18 is the fund that Christine referred to earlier regarding closing that account.
There's actually a couple funds, but before I jump in, I did want to say, Board President Nunes, your question earlier, I didn't think quick on my toes. The 21 million is general fund combined, it includes restricted, and the 16.4 million is just unrestricted, and the date should have been March 31st. So
Okay,
I
good.
apologize
All
about
right.
that. We
You're
are looking.
forgiven.
What's that?
You're forgiven.
Thank you. We are looking at closing 2 funds, and we're doing it in one resolution, if you're okay with that. Hanford Measure C Bond Fund was one of them, and that was passed, of course, back in 2006, but it has been fully expended over a year ago. There was a little trailing interest there. And then the Retiree Health and Welfare Fund, of which we transferred the remaining funds to the Irrevocable OPEB Trust, did create a little trailing interest as well. So upon approval for closure, we will move that to the general fund. And we do have a resolution here for you to adopt to close those two funds. Any
So moved.
questions?
So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second for the approval of adoption of Resolution 2018-07. If there's not any additional questions or discussion, I would ask that Megan poll the board on this resolution, please.
Trustee Sherman?
Aye.
Trustee Billwall?
Aye.
Trustee Cardoza?
Aye.
Trustee Nunez?
Aye. And Resolution 1807 is unanimously adopted. We have another resolution, item 19, and that is regarding surplus property.
This is pertaining to the empty parking lot. We call it Parking Lot 5, just across from this location on Mooney Boulevard, and it's approximately 35,000 or 35,779 square feet. You might recall that in November, well, actually in 2016, we tried to look for a long-term lease and see if we could kind of partner with someone and develop that property, but we really did not receive any responsive bids to that request. So in November, you approved a first resolution to get the process started to sell the property. This resolution comes back and basically requests permission for me as Vice President of Administrative Services to open the bids when they are returned and then to bring the results to you as the board rather than opening the bid results here at a board meeting. But there's some other nuances and information in here. Let me think what we need to point out. Currently, the parking lot over there is not supervised by our police. It's not, we don't charge parking, so it's really an empty lot that very soon would need some resurfacing if we were keeping it much longer. But this also requests that you approve this as an as-is sale to the highest bidder. Sealed bids would be received and opened publicly by the Vice President of Administrative Services. Bid documents would be reviewed and a recommendation would be made to the Board of Trustees to award the highest responsive bidder, meaning that a bid offered the greatest, the bid that offered the greatest overall value to the district. We are looking to open, yes.
Have we already passed the time that it has to go out to the public? I mean, to.
Yes.
We did those.
So in
schools and so
November-
forth?
We
And
did
there was no
those.
interest there from
No
them,
interest,
or-
yeah. In November, you approved that first step, and we
Okay.
did 60 days with the first level and then 60 days with the second level.
So we're going out now to private.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
There is something I did want to make sure you noted in here. We're looking again at opening June 1st, closing July 2nd. But we are recommending that no bids be accepted below an established minimum price of $1.05 million. If you as a board deem anything different, this would be a good time to discuss that, but
So
based
you're
on.
not gonna accept an offer lower than that?
That's what we're suggesting in here.
Well, we got a couple of us that think that's very high.
Yes, and that's one of the reasons I wanted to highlight that. I do believe we could probably change the wording of the resolution if you wanted.
Well,
Or we could take a second process and go back out.
Without disagreeing with Greg,
Mhm.
because I don't. Well, first of all, you put it out for bid, and then whichever one's the highest one, then the public has an opportunity to go up from there.
Mhm.
Okay. And we're in no hurry.
Mhm.
If you don't get any bids that way, we can always do it again.
Right.
Or do you have to put a minimum bid on it?
No,
I mean,
you don't. No, you don't.
A reserve?
Okay.
We-
Do you have to put it, it's, just
We
leave it
don't-
open and let them do it? If we don't like it, we don't have to accept it, do we?
We don't have to. I do know, I've worked with an attorney for this resolution and to begin the bid documents, and that's why this is so long. But I don't know if we could simply change the wording in the resolution right now. It might be sufficient.
I'm not sure when I move that.
But we did obtain an appraisal, and we know that this is definitely in the ballpark of the appraisal, so.
Appraised it, yeah.
Mhm.
Let's go with what the staff projected, and if you don't get any bids, well, then we'll know. And if we get some bids, well, that's fine.
But you're telling them you cannot bid less than $1,050,000.
We're establishing a minimum bid. If they want to try to bid less than that, they're gonna go to the trouble and take that risk. But we're not gonna, if we adopt this, and we don't receive anything below that, above that, at or above that, Greg, then it would at least tell us. One of the things I like about the idea that they might still put in a bid below it is through this process, we would do exactly what you said, Board Member Zumwalt. We would reject the bids based on not getting anything at our minimum, but we would see what they were bidding. So we would, if we're gonna go out again and we needed to lower it, we'd have.
But why would somebody bid if they know they're gonna be rejected at the, the 1.5 or whatever,
0.5, yeah.
Wait a minute. Suppose we adopt this, and someone comes in at $1 million even. You still would go through with it, because someone in the audience might go up.
Mhm.
I'm saying they may not bid because you're telling them you're not even gonna accept it.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering why you even wanna say that in there.
Well,
I think you're wasting your time doing it.
Suppose the high bid's $600,000.
Well, then you can reject it.
Can you?
Yeah, why couldn't you?
We can reject all bids. The board has
Based
that.
on what?
I don't know that you even have to base it on anything.
Well,
Throughout,
yeah.
we've, yeah.
I'd rather have a floor,
I know, when you don't have anything in there and you're opening a public
What if we
bid-
lower the floor? Because I think I don't think you're gonna get
Right.
$1 million for that property.
But if it appraised at that, I'm afraid to lower it.
It
Right.
appraised it higher than what we have listed as our minimum.
Who appraised it?
Well, whatever you guys wanna do.
Hopper. If we put it out, Greg, and we don't get any bids, then we know. Then we
We have
come
to
back
decide
and
if
we
we wanna pay
establish
less.
another low water mark. That'd be better.
One
I hate
advantage
to
is,
leave
Greg,
money
if
on the
we're not in a
table, so
hurry,
to
if we don't sell it for 3 years from now, we'll make a difference.
That's true, we'll be off the board by then, so it won't.
Yeah, Lori and the other poor guys left at the side.
Yeah, according-
I'll decide that after November.
Yeah.
Okay.
We put this in because it was at our appraised value, and we thought we'd take that first run at it. If you guys are right, we'll know, because we'll get no bids.
Greg, I hate to
And then
hurt you, but I'm with them.
No, all right, I mean, it's not like we have to sell it. It's not like.
I think you're right, and I'll be tickled pink if you're wrong.
Yeah,
Right.
well, I
Yeah.
would be too, but I'd be very shocked if that comes anywhere near that.
How big is that thing?
35,000.
35,800
Oh, man.
almost.
That's $30 a square foot? Wow.
On Mooney Boulevard?
Yeah, I'll see it.
I don't think it's.
Well,
gonna
they
happen.
appraised it for that.
Well, maybe it did, we'll see.
Yeah.
And hopefully he knows more than we do.
Well, he does, probably.
You guys notice I'm not chiming in.
All right, enough, so,
Even experts are wrong sometimes.
so we have a resolution before us, and, so I would, listen to some action. What is your,
Move to approve resolution 2018-10 as stated.
we have a motion, do we have a
Second.
second?
Second be kind of tough, huh, Greg?
I can't second it.
I'll second it.
All right, we have a motion and a second for approval of adoption of resolution 2018-10. Is there any additional comments? I believe not. And I would ask Megan to please pull the board.
Trustee Cardoza.
Aye.
Trustee Zumwalt.
Aye.
Trustee Sherman.
No.
Trustee Nunes.
Aye.
Okay.
All right, resolution
Have no idea.
2018-10 is adopted by a 3-to-1 vote. All right, and then Mr. Woods is, what stands between us and dinner? How does that feel?
Byron, just go, any questions?
So we've got a recommendation to award the bid for Prop 39 Year 5, the lighting project, LED lighting retrofit. If you'll recall, at the last board meeting, we awarded the HVAC project at $177,000. That's the total project cost for that project. Gives us about $312,000 left to use towards the lighting project. We actually had to rebid this project. The initial bids were open March 27th. All 4 bidders came in over budget, rejected the bids, reduced the scope, went right back out to bid. And then on May 3rd, we had the same 4 bidders bid the project, and it came back in a little different order. So the lowest responsive bidder was Clear Blue Energy Corp. Out of San Diego. You can take a look at their bid tab. You go to the next page if you'd like, right there. So you can see Clear Blue's base bid was about $105,000. When you look at the kind of the bottom of that list, it's less than half, and you got to ask yourself some questions. In my shoes, I'm like, what happens? Well, the first thing I do is make sure the bid's complete, the bid package is complete. Second thing is I reach out to the contractor that did the project, and I ask them, do you clearly understand the entire scope for this project? Scheduling requirements, all those details. So I did contact them. They came back. Actually, I talked to the COO of the company. It's a big company, too. Talked to him and 3 of his staff, and all of them were confident about their bids. So next thing I did was contact the bonding company, insurance, make sure that you know, those documents are complete, they're accurate, they're backed. Sure enough, that came back positive too. And the third thing I said, well, I don't know much about this company. I'm gonna look them up online, and I found out that they did a project up in Davis, California. So I reached out to that school district. They had the same exact situation. I think Clear Blue came in at about $600,000. The second guy was $1.2 million. They're in the punch list phase right now and project closeout, and everything's been fine with them. So
Scary, though.
this is the I guess the beauty of formal bids, but it's also the difficult aspect of it. So with that, you know, if you have any questions, but we're looking at recommending awarding the base bid and alternate bid items 1, 2, and 4 because of the project budget to Clear Blue Energy Corp. of San Diego.
You know, that's strange that a Visalia company's $300,000 higher than a
Big
San
company, a
Diego
lot of
company.
overhead involved.
You mean in Visalia company?
American, and Contra Costa is doing the year 4 project for us right now. And so it's something I didn't point out, but it is included in the narrative. I reached out to all the contractors that did the project, and I got their opinion on why the numbers came in as they did. Contra Costa and American both bid the Lithonia fixtures that were spec'd out in the project documents. During bidding, Clear Blue and Floresco requested a substitution request for the fixtures. You know, a different manufacturer that we could use in the project. Teeter, our engineer on this project, they reviewed that substitution request, approved it. Those approved fixtures were advertised to all the bidders, all the plan rooms. Everyone was bidding on the same information. But Contra Costa and American both chose not to use those fixtures. I think it's probably because that information was posted maybe three days before the bids, which, I mean, that's still within the requirements of the substitution request. So everyone was bidding on a level playing field. These are the results.
Well, there are probably there's no shortage of work, so that could be effective too.
Right. Yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve the recommendation.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second for the approval of the LED lighting retrofit to the low bidder of Clear Blue Energy Corp. Are there any additional comments or questions? If not, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Meeting adjourned. Thank you all for being here.